Hey there, incredible people. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're embarking on an amazing adventure together, one that can totally transform how you see your life, your money, and what success truly means. What I'm about to share isn't just a story, it's a powerful blueprint that has reshaped millions of lives, including my own. We're diving deep into the wisdom of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book that stands as a true game changer for anyone aspiring to financial freedom. Just imagine this: you're growing up, a curious kid, watching the adults around you. One person tells you, study hard, land a secure job, and save every penny. Then, another voice offers a completely different perspective: understand how money really works, make it work for you, and build lasting wealth. Two wildly different philosophies, right? Which path would you choose? This was the exact crossroads Robert Kiyosaki, the brilliant mind behind Rich Dad, Poor Dad, found himself at. He was lucky enough to have two father figures, each with profoundly different beliefs about life and money. He affectionately called them his poor dad and his rich dad. Robert's biological father was his poor dad. He was a highly educated man, an accomplished teacher with a stable job. His conviction was that success came from diligent study, earning top grades, and steadily climbing the career ladder. Yet, despite his impressive education, poor dad often found himself struggling. He lived paycheck to paycheck, constantly stressed about bills, and held the firm belief that discussing money was simply impolite. He was a good man, but he was caught in a cycle of financial worry. Rich Dad, on the other hand, didn't have a string of degrees or a prestigious government job. His formal education was limited. But what he possessed was far more valuable: a profound, practical understanding of money. Rich Dad owned successful businesses and made strategic investments. He believed with all his heart that financial education was infinitely more important than traditional academic education. His golden rule: you don't work for money, you make money work for you. Now, picture young Robert, caught between these two powerful men. Both offered advice, but their guidance couldn't have been more contrasting. Poor Dad's advice: get a good, secure job. Rich Dad's advice: create jobs for others. Poor Dad's belief: money is the root of all evil. Rich Dad's belief: the lack of money is the root of all evil. Initially, Robert was bewildered. He loved both men deeply. But he started noticing a critical difference. Poor Dad, despite his intellect, was perpetually stressed about money. Rich Dad, with less formal education, was always relaxed and incredibly confident about his financial future. One day, Robert, filled with curiosity, asked Rich Dad, "Why are you so confident about money?" Rich Dad simply smiled and replied, "Because I understand how it works. Most people don't. They work hard their entire lives for money, but they never learn how to make it work for them." That single sentence was a revelation for Robert. It planted a powerful seed of curiosity in his young mind. He decided then and there to learn everything he could from Rich Dad, to unlock his secrets, and to follow in his footsteps. Let's take a moment here and truly reflect on this. Isn't this the exact reality for so many of us? We're often told, go to school, get a stable job, and save for retirement. But how many of us were ever truly taught how to manage money effectively? How to make it grow? How to break free from the exhausting cycle of working just to cover bills? Your mindset about money is the architect of your future. If you view money as something frightening or negative, you'll constantly struggle with it. But if you begin to see money as a powerful tool, something you can control, nurture, and multiply, you'll unlock a world of freedom and incredible opportunities. Imagine two paths stretching out before you, one leading to endless financial struggles, the other to genuine financial freedom. Wouldn't you want to know how to confidently choose the right one? That's precisely what we're here to discover today. Rich Dad continued to mentor Robert, and each conversation opened Robert's eyes wider. One day, Rich Dad uttered a truth that Robert would never forget: the rich don't work for money. Robert was puzzled. "What do you mean?" he asked. "Isn't money the whole reason people work?" Rich Dad patiently explained, "No, Robert. The poor and the middle class work for money. But the rich make money work for them. That's the fundamental difference." Rich Dad illustrated how most people are trapped in a never-ending cycle he called the rat race. He explained, when you're young, you go to school. There, you're taught to study diligently so you can get a good job. Once you land that job, you work tirelessly to earn money. With that money, you buy things, a house, a car. But those things come with expenses, bills, mortgages, loans, taxes, and repairs. So, you work even harder to pay for them. It's a never-ending loop. The harder they work, he continued, the deeper they get trapped in this cycle. This is why they rarely escape the rat race. Consider a man named John. John earns $3,000 a month. As soon as John gets a raise and starts earning $4,000, what's his first move? He buys a bigger house, a nicer car, or the latest smartphone. His expenses immediately expand to match his new income. Instead of saving or investing, he continues to spend. Now, John has to work even harder just to cover these new, inflated expenses. This cycle keeps him perpetually trapped. Rich Dad then posed a crucial question to Robert: "Do you know what financial freedom truly means?" Robert shook his head. Rich Dad elaborated, "Financial freedom means having enough income from your investments or assets to comfortably cover all your expenses. When you reach that point, you don't have to work unless you want to. Your money is working tirelessly for you." He continued, "Many people mistakenly believe that being rich is simply about having a high-paying job. But even someone earning a fortune can be broke if their expenses are too high. It's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you keep and how hard you make it work." Rich Dad then shared a simple, yet life-altering, lesson about assets and liabilities. An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket, even when you're not actively working. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. Let's look at two scenarios. Scenario 1. Buying a car. A young man saves $10,000 and buys a shiny new car. That car immediately starts costing him money: fuel, maintenance, insurance. Over time, the car's value plummets. It's a classic liability. Scenario 2. Investing in property. Another person saves the same $10,000 and buys a small piece of land or a share in a rental property. They rent it out for, say, $200 a month. This property generates income. It's an asset. Robert was amazed. He quickly grasped how often people confuse liabilities for assets. A fancy house, a luxury car, or even designer clothes might feel like wealth, but if they don't generate income and instead cost you money, they're liabilities. Rich Dad advised Robert, the rich buy assets first. They strategically invest in things that generate more money for them: businesses, real estate, stocks, and even education to boost their skills. These investments create passive income. Once they have enough assets generating income, they can comfortably afford luxuries without ever worrying about money. Rich Dad provided another crystal-clear example. Consider two families, both earning $5,000 a month. Family A spends all their money on rent, food, and entertainment. By the end of the month, they have nothing left. They live paycheck to paycheck, month after month. Family B, on the other hand, Family B spends only $4,000 and shrewdly invests the remaining $1,000 in stocks. Over time, their investments grow, and they start earning, for example, $500 a month from dividends. Eventually, this passive income grows large enough to cover all their living expenses. Family B achieves financial freedom, while Family A remains firmly stuck in the rat race. Robert began to profoundly understand, it wasn't about how much money you earned, it was about how intelligently you managed and grew it. Rich Dad shared another pivotal insight with Robert. Most people immediately think, I can't afford it. But the rich think, how can I afford it? This subtle shift in mindset makes an enormous difference. He explained, when you say, I can't afford it, your brain essentially shuts down. But when you ask, how can I afford it, your brain immediately springs into action, actively searching for creative solutions. Rich Dad gave Robert a practical exercise. Whenever you desire something but instinctively think you can't afford it, write down 3 distinct ways you could make it happen. Perhaps you can trim unnecessary expenses, start a side hustle, or acquire a valuable skill that commands a higher income. This exercise, he assured Robert, would train his mind to think like the rich. Robert was still a bit hesitant about investing. He asked Rich Dad, what if I lose my money? Rich Dad smiled knowingly. That's precisely the difference between the rich and the poor, he replied. The poor are paralyzed by the fear of losing money, so they never take any risks. The rich understand that failure is an invaluable part of the learning process. If you make a mistake, you don't give up, you learn from it and try again, smarter than before. Rich Dad then outlined a clear, actionable plan for building wealth, even with limited funds. 1. Track your expenses. For 1 month, diligently write down every single thing you spend money on. This will reveal unnecessary expenses you can cut. You'll be surprised. 2. Start small, don't wait for a huge sum. Begin with small, consistent investments, like shares in a good company or a savings account that earns interest. The power of compounding is incredible. 3. Learn every day, be a perpetual student of money. Read insightful books, attend enlightening seminars, or find mentors who can guide you on your financial journey. 4. Build assets first. Prioritize buying assets that generate income, such as rental properties or launching a side business, before splurging on luxuries. 5. Profits. Resist the urge to spend the money you earn from your investments. Reinvest it to accelerate your wealth growth. This is how true fortunes are built. As Robert began to diligently follow Rich Dad's advice, he noticed a profound shift in his thinking. He no longer saw money as something to be immediately spent. Instead, he viewed it as a potent tool to create even more money. He started actively seeking investment opportunities, and slowly but surely, his mindset transformed from one of scarcity to one of abundant possibilities. Rich Dad's lessons were truly changing Robert's life, one strategic step at a time. Robert's journey with Rich Dad took another fascinating turn when Rich Dad declared, "To truly become wealthy, you must first learn how to control your emotions." This puzzled Robert. "What do emotions have to do with money?" he asked. Rich Dad smiled and replied, "Everything. Most people allow fear and greed to dictate their financial decisions. These powerful emotions are what keep them poor." Rich Dad explained that fear is what compels people to remain in jobs they despise. They are paralyzed by the fear of not having enough money to cover bills. So, they settle for a steady paycheck instead of daring to take risks to create true wealth. This insidious fear traps them firmly in the rat race. Imagine someone who desperately wants to start their own business but never does. Why? They're terrified of failing. They're afraid of losing money, or even being judged by others. So, instead of trying, they remain in a job that pays just enough to survive, but never enough to truly thrive. Rich Dad then added a crucial distinction: the rich also face fear, but they refuse to let it stop them. They understand that fear is a natural human emotion, but action is what truly matters. If you want to succeed, you must acknowledge your fear and move forward anyway. Rich Dad also explained that greed is another emotion that keeps people trapped. Greed makes people falsely believe that simply having more money will bring them happiness. They think, if I buy this luxurious car, I'll finally feel successful. Or, if I purchase this massive house, people will respect me, he continued. But these things only create more expenses and ultimately, more stress. He emphasized, true happiness doesn't come from owning things. It comes from freedom, the freedom to pursue what you love, to spend quality time with the people you cherish. And that profound freedom comes from diligently building assets, not thoughtlessly spending money on things you don't truly need. Rich Dad told Robert, if you want to control your emotions, you need knowledge. Most people are afraid of money because they simply don't understand it. They don't know how to invest, so they avoid it. They don't understand how taxes work, so they overpay. They don't know how to grow wealth, so they remain stuck. He strongly encouraged Robert to immerse himself in learning about 1. Investments, understanding stocks, real estate, and other powerful ways to make your money grow. 2. Taxes, learning how the wealthy legally pay less in taxes by utilizing smart strategies. 3. The market, knowing when to strategically buy and when to sell. Rich Dad's powerful message, the more you know, the less afraid you'll be. Knowledge gives you unparalleled power over your fear. One of Rich Dad's most transformative lessons was about fundamentally changing how you perceive money. He told Robert, stop thinking like a consumer. Start thinking like an investor. For example, imagine you earn $1,000. A consumer will likely spend it on new clothes, the latest gadgets, or entertainment. Their money disappears. An investor, however, will immediately ask, how can I use this $1,000 to make more money? They might wisely buy stocks, kickstart a small side business, or invest in a course to acquire valuable new skills. Over time, the investor's money steadily grows, while the consumer's money simply vanishes. Rich Dad taught Robert how to spot opportunities that most others completely miss. He explained, most people don't recognize opportunities because they're too busy working to spend their money. The rich, however, are constantly on the lookout for chances to grow their wealth. He gave Robert a practical exercise. When you walk down the street, don't just idly gaze at shop windows. Instead, ask yourself, how could I potentially own one of these businesses? What does this business truly need to succeed? Train your mind to think like an owner, not just a customer. Robert began practicing this, and to his surprise, he found the world brimming with exciting opportunities. A charming little cafe for sale, an old house perfect for renovation and renting, or even a promising website idea that could blossom into a thriving business. As Robert diligently learned and applied Rich Dad's profound lessons, he inevitably faced skepticism from others. People would tell him, you're too young to invest, or, that's far too risky. Even his poor dad cautioned him to focus on a safe job instead of chasing these risky dreams. Rich Dad offered invaluable advice. People will always criticize what they don't understand. But remember, they're speaking from their own fears, not yours. If you listen to them, you'll end up just like them, stuck in the rat race. He encouraged Robert to stay laser-focused and to surround himself with like-minded individuals who believed in growth, ambition, and success. Rich Dad also gently reminded Robert, you don't have to start big. In fact, small wins are the absolute best way to build confidence. He shared the story of a young woman who wanted to start investing but only had $50. Instead of waiting to save a large sum, she began buying shares of small, promising companies. Over time, her investment steadily grew, and she gained the confidence to take on bigger, more impactful risks. Rich Dad explained, success is built step by step, brick by brick. Each small victory gives you the courage and momentum to aim even higher. Rich Dad deeply emphasized the pivotal role of daily habits in achieving true wealth. He told Robert, your habits determine your future. If you consistently save and invest even a small amount every month, it will inevitably grow exponentially over time. But if you spend every penny you earn, you'll forever remain stuck in the same place. He recommended two simple, yet powerful habits. Pay yourself first. Before paying any bills or expenses, immediately set aside a dedicated portion of your income for savings or investments. This is non-negotiable. 2. Track your progress. Keep a journal or a spreadsheet of your financial growth. Witnessing your progress in black and white will be an incredible motivator to keep you going. Rich Dad warned Robert about one of the most common pitfalls, impatience. He said, most people give up because they don't see immediate results. They expect to become rich overnight. But building true wealth takes time, unwavering discipline, and relentless consistency. Think about planting a seed, he illustrated. You don't see results immediately. You have to water it diligently, protect it from pests, and patiently wait. Over time, it grows into a strong, magnificent tree that provides fruit for years. Wealth is precisely the same. Money is a powerful tool, but it's not the ultimate goal, Rich Dad concluded. The true goal is freedom, the freedom to live life on your own terms, to passionately pursue your dreams, and to generously help others. Once you achieve that, you'll truly grasp what it means to be rich. Robert left that day feeling more inspired and empowered than ever before. He was determined to break free from the rat race, diligently build assets, and create the abundant life he had always envisioned. One day, after countless invaluable lessons, Rich Dad told Robert, now, you're ready for the most important truth about becoming truly wealthy. Success isn't about mere luck or raw talent. It's about your mindset, relentless hard work, and decisive action. Robert leaned in closer, eager to absorb every last word. Rich Dad explained, many people dream of becoming rich, but very few actually take action. They perpetually wait for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect idea. But the truth is, there is no perfect time. The absolute best time to start is now. He gave Robert a compelling example. Imagine two friends. One says, I'll start saving and investing when I make more money. The other starts small, saving just $10 a week. 10 years later, the second friend has built a significant fortune, while the first is still waiting for the right time. Rich Dad continued, opportunities are truly everywhere, but only those who bravely act on them see results. Don't wait until you feel ready, start with whatever you have, right now. Rich Dad also taught Robert that failure is not the opposite of success, it's an indispensable part of the journey. Every successful person has failed many, many times, he stated. He shared a story about a businessman who bravely started 5 companies, all of which unfortunately failed. People mocked him and called him a fool. But he refused to give up. On his 6th attempt, he built a company that became wildly successful and completely transformed his life. Rich Dad smiled and asked, "Do you think he would have succeeded if he had stopped after his first failure?" Rich Dad emphasized the paramount importance of self-discipline in achieving financial freedom. He said, "It's incredibly easy to spend money, but it takes genuine discipline to save and invest it wisely. Always, always pay yourself first. Even if you have bills or debts, set aside a portion of your income for savings or investments before spending on anything else." Rich Dad explained, this powerful habit forces you to be creative and resourceful with the rest of your money. It also builds the unwavering discipline you need to consistently grow your wealth. Rich Dad noticed that many people allowed their doubts to stop them from pursuing their boldest dreams. He told Robert, "Your thoughts create your reality. If you constantly focus on your fears, you will undoubtedly find reasons to fail. But if you fixate on your dreams, you will inevitably find ways to succeed." As their extraordinary lessons drew to a close, Rich Dad shared one final, profoundly surprising piece of advice: the richest people are ultimately those who give back. Robert was confused. "How does giving make you richer?" he asked. Rich Dad explained, "When you selflessly help others, you create immense value. Whether it's generously sharing your knowledge, patiently mentoring someone, or wholeheartedly donating to a worthy cause, giving back miraculously multiplies your success. It brings deep fulfillment and profoundly strengthens your network, which very often leads to even greater, unforeseen opportunities." He told Robert a heartwarming story about a wealthy man who established a scholarship fund for underprivileged students. This incredible act of generosity not only transformed hundreds of lives but also brought the man immense joy and widespread recognition, which, in turn, opened doors to new partnerships and even more successful businesses. Rich Dad's very last piece of advice was simple, yet incredibly powerful: the moment you stop learning, you stop growing. Years later, Robert looked back on his incredible journey and fully realized how Rich Dad's timeless lessons had transformed his entire life. He had built wealth not just in terms of money, but also in terms of freedom, unwavering confidence, and the profound ability to empower and help others. Robert shared this powerful message with the world: no matter where you are in life, you possess the inherent power to change your future. It doesn't matter if you're starting with absolutely nothing. What truly matters is your mindset and your unyielding willingness to take action. Wealth isn't just about money. It's about consciously creating a life where you can passionately follow your deepest desires, generously help others, and live without a single regret. As you finish reading this inspiring story, remember, your personal journey to financial freedom begins today. Start small. Stay consistent. Learn from your inevitable failures. Dream big, bigger than you ever thought possible. And never, ever give up. Because the only limit to your success is the limit you impose on yourself. The world is bursting with incredible opportunities, patiently waiting for you to take that courageous first step. Your time is now. Make it truly count.